Conditions apply.
MTN, go.
Good morning once more to you, Lagos. You're tuning and listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Right now, we are officially inside Freshly Pressed 981 time in the studio with Valentine and myself. We've got our analysts ready to go, our learned colleagues looking dapper. We have Adedunmade Onibokun. Good morning, Adedunmade.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, guys.
You can find him on Twitter simply as at Adedumade. And we've also got Orji Uka. Good morning, Orji.
Good morning.
Great to have you here with us. Find him up
you.
on Twitter very simply as at Orji Uka. But you can find all of us and watch all of us in the studio now if you go over to our YouTube channel. We're streaming live. Just search for Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Very, very. Also, send us your messages via WhatsApp. We have tweeted our WhatsApp number to you. So just search with the hashtag FreshlyPress981 and also send in your comments on Twitter with that same hashtag. But now let's jump into the first set of stories for this morning.
We'll take our first story from a report on Guardian. From Guardian newspaper, we'll have the story. President Muhammadu Buhari and King Mohammed VI of Morocco have signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, to facilitate the establishment of a gas pipeline to supply the product from Nigeria to Morocco and the West African sub-region. Together with that MOU, they signed two others. Another one to encourage development of chemical plants in Nigeria to produce ammonia and its derivatives, and another one for vocational training and technical supervision that would enhance skills. What are the benefits for Nigeria alongside the undertaking?
Well, this is actually great news for the country as a whole because this trip was what I'll call successful with regard to the engagement between the both leaders, and also we get about 3 deals from it, which is also great news.
Okay.
Now, so the first agreement, which gas pipeline agreement. Now, this will be a lot more extensive than we think and will not be as immediate as we hope because there's so many things that come to play, especially the laying of the pipeline. It's going to lead to so many bilateral and also maybe multilateral agreements between different states, which the gas will actually pass through.
Yeah.
So they've said that they're going to conduct a feasibility study that is sometime hopefully this year, and when that feasibility study is done, that's when they'll be able to outline the plans that will lead to the creation of this pipeline. So I think it's great, but I just hope that we speed up on that because Nigeria, I've always said that we have good planning, but the execution is actually very poor. Now,
Isn't it interesting to note that they are extending a pipeline that already exists?
Yes. The pipeline already exists and it runs through about two
Togo.
or three countries now: Togo, Ghana, and I think another one. So this is actually quite interesting. And to also know that we've been supplying gas to the countries is also great too. So I think it's good that we extend. I think Nigeria should actually focus on this gas rather than the oil because oil and gas is actually the new way. So yeah, so the other two agreements that were taken or that were signed, which is the first one is the cooperation agreement on vocational training. This one I think favors Nigeria more because I don't know what we're going to be offering them in virtue of an exchange in regard to this because it's mostly for agricultural management and it's what they are the ones that are supposedly going to come and teach us this. So
And we noted the section where the president really, the rhetoric is now stronger by the day and more positive regarding Nigerians as intellectually aggressive and economically ambitious.
Yes, that is really great. I think someone must have been tutoring him on how to speak about Nigerians now because I remember the last time he spoke about Nigerians being young and lazy, and I am
That's
glad that he has done this. But also for Morocco, this is a huge play because they just came back into the AU in 3 years of absence by some dispute because the OAU then recognized a country called the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Yeah. which was supposedly time. So yeah, that conflict, but their back is a major move for them also to show the African continent that yes, and they are also big state players.
That's good. Thank you very much, Adedunmade. We'll move on now to the next story from ThisDay. After an exclusive report, Army commences rotation of battle-fatigued soldiers. So in this report, there's been, it's on record that some soldiers have been left there in the north eastern part of the country, really fighting terrorism. They've been there since 2015. They said some of them have been left there without proper rotational procedure. But the Army has kicked in to say yesterday that the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Burutai, has given a directive on rotation should be strictly adhered to in cases of hostages that were rescued by the military and a general that was attacked, but that attack was foiled. What's your take, Orji?
First, okay, not out of fear, but out of respect for what they do. These guys really, really sacrifice a lot. So the major story is that a report came out that some people have been there for years, as you mentioned, for 3 years. They do this typically for a year or two so that they won't go back to the area. And their response is that it was actuated by shortage of experienced fighters. It's tough, but you have to understand from their point of view as well. If you have someone who is resting somewhere and then you're getting kicked somewhere, you just have to beg the person and say, please come back, somewhere along that line. I'm not defending them. The important thing here is that they have responded to say, we're going to. So whether they admit that they did it in the past or not, what they said is that we're going to try and be better in this rotation. And I'll always use every opportunity. The surprise one is the fact of the home of a general.
In Benue State.
In Benue State being attacked. For me, maybe it's a good thing because because if they had attacked the home of regular people, of course, nothing would have happened. And the good thing is that they I don't know what they think they were doing. They went to the home of a general while he was at home, and he had military officers with him who were able to successfully repel the attack. I hope the people suffered casualties.
We hope so, and glad to know the security situation is in check there. Now, our next story is from The Guardian. Victims of June 12th struggle demand compensation. Now, so the victims of the political struggle that occurred on June 12th, 1993 presidential election, that was subsequently annulled, are demanding compensation from the federal government. Some of them, according to this report, one of the victims said he lost one of his legs during the struggle. He is named as the SDP and NADICO youth leader, Abiodun Mustafa. He described the survival during June 12th as God's favor and asking the federal government to compensate them, himself and some others like him. Adedunmade.
This is actually quite interesting because when I heard the news report, I was wondering, okay, who are the persons that are saying that they're liable to compensation, and what are their names or what did they do? But when I now read through the report and I saw them come out and why they have come out, and I read also the sacrifices that they made for democracy, for the country, one cannot help but appreciate the role that they have in what we now have in Nigeria, especially as the government has recognized it formally. Zimbabwe has now declared it as what will be our democracy day going forward. This is great news, but with regard to compensation, I don't think the president, if I were the president, actually,
of fraud that goes on at that level of civil service, federal, state, local government levels, just a few thoughts. The fact that this revelation is coming during a town hall meeting on civil service reform. They also, in fact, the other day, the governor ordered us to arrest somebody. I'm not a fan of publicly shaming people who have not been convicted. I'm not a fan of parading people in the public, but would love to have more information. And I don't like the fact that the governor has had to order the arrest. I don't know who the governor that he did not stop at that town hall meeting, because this was what a public official said at the town hall meeting. I hope for the investigatory list here to now the job to that indeed. And it's not just one person because it can be with somewhere else. Only come months to get their salary and they go back again to their other places of work. This happens. It's widespread, and if we don't do something about it, we will not be able to practice this positions in government that we do in next 10 or 20 years.
Orji, thank you very much. We have messages coming in. Anne sends in a message on WhatsApp. She says, victims of June 12 requesting compensation. It never ends, does it? The government should not even go there because this will just open up another can of worms across the country. While Henry Manuel says, the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline agreement looks attractive. However, the former administration started the Nigeria-Algeria gas pipeline where we invested about $400 million US. What will be the fate of that project? Because all the good things said about this current project, well, that was said about the former project in 2013. Is Morocco trying to woo us to support their bid to join ECOWAS? We shall see. While over on the hashtag freshlypressed981, Dan Inahar sends a message saying, I'm also talking about the gas line, that I don't understand why we run a gas pipeline to African countries and yet fail to do the same internally across Aba, Onitsha, Ibadan, Kano, etc. It could
Who's maintaining the
pay for the speaking of who paid the piper, let's move on and talk about the looters list. So Lai Mohammed faces fresh contempt charge. It's from the Premium Times. Orji, as we look at it, we see that a federal high court apparently has ordered that court papers be served on the Information Minister Lai Mohammed over alleged list of looters that were released. Now, specifically because of the inclusion of one particular name in here, and that inclusion from Miss Usman, her counsel basically says this could jeopardize the ongoing court case, and it looks as though there are other names on the list that could be taking the same action. Can you break this down for us, please?
Okay, breaking it down with one sentence, we never learn. We have been talking about this fight against corruption for. You see, our government officials don't know. Have distinct responsibilities. You have to respect each of them because they're all independent. Nobody is the boss of each other. Now, someone was merely accused of committing a crime. The person has been charged before a court of competent jurisdiction. You then wake up, say you are compiling a list just to please your paymaster. You're compiling a list of looters. Looters, that word is not alleged looters. List of looters, people who have committed offenses. So you still sit in your house, you consider yourself as a judge, you charge the person, convict the person, and you sentence the person in public opinion. So what is somebody mentioned who was already facing charges before a court has now come out to say the actions mentioning my name while the case is going on is contemptuous of the court in whom I'm appearing before.
Absolutely.
So I have asked the court to charge you with contempt and, if possible, find you guilty. And for me, that's the right thing to do.
Now, Orji, just before I let you go forward, I know that you said, you used a phrase there to please the paymaster. But for argument's sake, what if it's to please the general Nigerian public? Let's not forget that at the beginning of this sort of administration, when they sat in, people kept pushing to say, listen, you promised us names of people that you say are looting the treasury. Give us these names. Give us these names.
You see, that's the problem. You see, you don't need to follow the crowd at all times. And I think particularly those who are lawyers, they should know the implications of their actions. So if, as we know these things very well, even if you find somebody, if someone walks into your house and shoots you, the person you can call the person an armed robber, but you cannot, once you come out in public, there are two levels here. Only a court of competent, except we don't like the system of government you're practicing, in which case we look for one that will favor Nigeria, the United of Nigeria. What you are practicing is that only a court, only a person who has been a court of competent jurisdiction can declare a person guilty. What we typically do in this country is the police will arrest you, they would
parade you,
do that media trial, bring out guns, now convict the person, will not hear anything for 2-3 years. Next thing is the police officer that the IPO has been posted on that place. So after 6 or 7 years, they would release you. That is what typically happens in this country. So what we like is we have 1 million or 1,000 persons who have stolen 1 trillion naira. They are bad. Nigerians will clap for them. And after 4 years, maybe 1 or 2 convictions, and the rest of them nothing happens, and then go back again.
So what do you think the likelihood is of the court finding Lai Mohammed to be in contempt, and what would be the following? What would be the?
I will try to not get into details of what the court will do and not
What
do.
might or might not do. Yes, it depends on the evidence
if the court
presented.
finds Mr. A guilty of contempt, it is an offence. As punishment, which includes imprisonment.
For that, let's just sidestep that conversation. It gets a bit prickly there and talk about something I think a little bit more positive. NAFDAC, so the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration, advocates tax relief for local pharmaceutical companies. They're saying that this will help guarantee the quality and affordability of drugs for the average Nigerian. Adedunmade, what's your take on this story, especially then going on to say, on the one hand, as it talks about helping Nigerians, it then talks about attracting foreign investment?
Well, pharmaceutical companies have it very hard in Nigeria, especially the small ones.
Well, anything in the food and drug space, really, because it's not necessarily pharmaceuticals. It could be homemade body creams, for example.
Well, great. But not food, maybe, because food sometimes gets to move as fast. And you don't need to import your raw materials to make food. You don't need to generate so much power, because I have a company that my firm actually does some work with, and I've taken a walk of their plant before. I've seen the kind of machinery that they use. These people consume a lot of power. Now, that is one thing that bears them down. Another issue they have, of course, is, like I said earlier, raw materials. They have to import most of their raw materials. You now factor the issue of the currency figures, then you know that is also a major issue for
foreign
them.
exchange.
Yes, you figure that is also a big problem for them as well. Now, they also find it very difficult to get loans from banks, and when they do, it's at very, very, very stiff-neck conditions. And now those are different issues that have come to plague them, and a lot of them are really, really suffering. That's why you realize that some of them will not mind doing something illegal, maybe even trying to produce things that have codeine, just so that they can make some sales, and so that they can meet up with the requirements of running. Now, in order to make things easier for them, yes, some sort of tariffs need to be introduced, some sort of tax need to be introduced. This will encourage them. Now, this will also promote foreign investors to come and look into their businesses and say, okay, now that that state policy kind of favors you, I think it's a good time to look into your business at the time want to invest.
Adedunmade, I have a question here, though. Now, I think it's very nice that NAFDAC have said, grant tax reliefs, but a number of small business owners have pointed at the steep rates that NAFDAC itself charges small businesses, small homemade businesses, just to register their product. They charge them almost at the same rate as international companies, and yet you say that you're trying to encourage them to grow. How is that possible? There could be no need for foreign investment in the case of those small businesses if the rates that NAFDAC itself put forward were a little bit more accessible.
Yes, NAFDAC issue is just one in the long line of things that these people have to do. And yes, NAFDAC also knows that the price is actually very high, because a couple of small businesses have always come together to engage with them and tell them that, okay, look, how can a small business afford 2 or 3 million, just for this? So they are also trying to, I know positively or personally, that they have tried to offer some form of support to small scale businesses, especially when they come as a union. So when you like a member of a community, and let's say 50 of you go in one park to them, they can say, okay, because you're coming together as one, we could give you let's say this kind of 50% or 70%, as the case may be. Now I know that's
a tough ask.
No. I haven't got
Hypothetically speaking.
Yes,
okay.
Hypothetically speaking, but I know that they've given some form of rebates to this kinds of persons. I believe that with this regard, we just need to continue the engagement, and we also need to understand that NAFDAC itself has issues. For instance, they have also stated that their staffs are underpaid, so they also have a drive to find funds as well. So all these issues, I believe, will actually be resolved from continuous engagement and with all the important stakeholders, most especially the manufacturers, NAFDAC, government agencies such as Standards Organization of Nigeria, you know, and all these kinds of people.
All right, thank you very much for that. But Adedunmade, seeing as we're speaking about stakeholders and getting the public involved or certain stakeholders involved in conversations, the reps are saying that they're not going to back down on the bill that they've proposed to criminalize estimated billing. Now, the story is in from the Punch newspaper, but this bill was sponsored by Leader of the House, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, and they said, listen, that they want to make it completely illegal for consumers to be charged in any other form other than prepaid meters, essentially. Now, we know that when this story first came out, the discos raised complaints. They said, well, it's a high cost of meters already. You can't do this yet because not everyone has meters. But Mr. Gbajabiamila says it should be fairly easy to sort out, seeing as we now have meter companies that people should be able to buy from directly. What are your thoughts on this story?
Two things. There's something we say in law, which is that EU comes to equity must come with clean hands. Now, the discos themselves are not being sincere in this issue of metering, because aside from the different costs that they've stated is the price of one, now in this estimated billing, they are not being transparent as well. Now, how many hours of electricity am I giving in a month? How many hours of electricity do I need to pay for in that month? But when you come and tell me I have to pay for more than I have consumed, I think it's unlawful. I think it is wrong. And I think that the House of Rep is doing the right thing by trying to criminalize it. Now, it's because nobody has come to stand up to them in this way that they have formed themselves as a competition cartel, and they have stated that, okay, you know what, we are going to run things the way we want to do things. Now, you have to understand that this is businesses. The bottom line for them is profit, and I do not believe that they are so sincere that they will not try to get that profit through someone only means.
Here's a question. What happens then if this bill does scale through, because now it's at the second reading in the House, it scales through, it now becomes a criminal offense to bill people other than using prepaid meters.
Yes.
The discos in response cut off the light for everybody that doesn't yet have prepaid meters, and that remains the same because they haven't yet figured out a number of loopholes. They haven't yet figured out how they will test the other meters people will buy. Which causes a bigger problem, because before, yes, you were being billed, you weren't sure about whether you were being billed correctly, but now you just don't have light.
No, I actually foresee that this was going to court on this issue when the law has been passed, because obviously they can afford to fight it, even in court and out of court as well. So yes, they will go to court on a different grounds, thinking that one, it is not lawful to them, and it's an infringement of their rights as well. So when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. Now, with regards to the issue of even how this law will be implemented, I think that there's simple things that we can do with regards to mediation, and not necessarily have to lead to a fracas or an all-out war at the end of the day. Now, if a disco comes to disconnect my light when I have paid a bill, but because they are trying to complain about one law that was passed, they are also going to have to answer to me, basically.
We'll be answering to each other here. YouTube, we have a message here. Ichukuma Moma says, more people need to be arrested. 300 people's salary missing or being taken. It's not one man's job. Another message here on Twitter at Smooth91FM. Auntie Hello says, NAFDAC is not alone. Government agencies always say one thing, then do another. Look at the minimum rate for pioneer status set at 100 million naira, which SME can afford that. But we're claiming ease of business here in Nigeria. Also on WhatsApp, we have Big T sending in this one. It said, list of looters. English is a powerful tool. If the term alleged looters was used, then there would have been no case. Our so-called leaders need a refresher course on English 101. We'll keep it moving.
Yep, we move on to our final story for this morning. The police nabbed 7 suspects of trafficking physically challenged children from the Vanguard newspaper. And I do have to emphasize these are suspects, but Orji, these are the story in here is something that a number of us have suspected or heard before. It talks about one Mato Abdullahi who would borrow, he says, his niece from his sister, go down to Mobology Bank Anthony Way, Lagos, and then use her to get money. They would make between sometimes 5,000 and 6,000 a day. Nowadays, 3,000 and 4,000 a day, because there are a lot more people than to everyone who reported on that, and they positioned a seat. Your thoughts?
I don't understand the writing, but I understand this too.
Yes.
I like how the police went about it.
Yes.
Waited a week. That typically doesn't happen around here. We arrest and then investigate. But in this case, they heard stories. There was suspicion. People reported. They waited. CCTV camera. So I believe they have enough evidence. So there's nothing much to say here. But it's not a good thing because it now raises the question of the people that you see. It's not even a good thing to have them around, but of the number of people that you see on the streets begging, you now start asking yourself question: how many of them are because this money? Because I always say these kids, how do they survive? How do they get it? Did they trek from wherever they came from to Lagos? Did they trek the way they go to every day? So they stay there in the morning. The story here is even detailed. Somebody brings them there. They will crawl to a particular point. In the afternoon, somebody will give them money and then bring food for them. Then towards the end of the day, somebody comes to collect the money, all the money that they've made, because those kids don't even get a lot of it. So they collect the money. The head of the cabal will take his own share, distribute the rest to them, and this is. I just hope someone is punished for this so that we can learn.
Thank you very much for that. On that note, we're done for this morning. I wish we could take more comments. We can't. Find our analysts up online at Orji Uka at Adedunmade. Coming up next, it is at 8:15. Time to talk entertainment inside of the Grapevine. Good morning, Lagos.
The headlines, the stories.
Why did you start singing?
In-depth analysis.